Hi, I'm Amelia. I'm 46 years old. This last year and a half has been nothing short of a nightmare. I lost my son to cancer and my husband to an affair. I've been through a lot, and I was recently told to try venting my emotions through writing, so here I am. I'll start from the beginning. I met my ex-husband Robert when we were in college. We were very similar, so we got along great. We dated for 4 years before tying the knot. We waited for a year or two before we decided to have kids. Our first child was a girl who we named Megan, and 5 years later we had my son, Justin. For 15 years, everything was great. We were a happy family that was doing very well. Both Robert and I worked jobs that paid us well enough to save up for both of our kids' education and also live comfortably. And then one day, my son Justin collapsed out of the blue. It was one of the scariest moments of my life. I had no idea what was happening. One minute I was making a PB&J sandwich for him, and the next I heard a thud on the floor and found him lying unconscious. I was trained in CPR, so I quickly performed it on him while I called 911 for help. The ambulance arrived quickly and we were rushed to the hospital. After a number of tests, I was told that Justin had leukemia. I cannot describe to you all the emotions that went through me when I heard that news. I felt my whole world crash and burn. I went from feeling every emotion under the sun to feeling nothing at all. I stayed with Justin in the hospital for the next few months as we tried to desperately figure out how to deal with his illness. When Justin heard of his cancer, he burst into tears, and I felt my heart break all over again. I still had hope that Justin would recover after a lot of treatment. Justin got started on chemotherapy and radiation pretty quickly. He was really weak, so he was required to stay in the hospital. I spent every minute that I could in that hospital. Unless it was to work or take a shower, I was there by Justin's side. Megan was at college by this point, and Robert was too busy working. The news of Justin's illness devastated all of us, and it left us feeling pretty numb. Megan couldn't be back home all the time, but she'd fly back home once a month for about a week to spend time with Justin. Robert was the only one who was barely around. I would try to talk to him about him, but every single time he'd tell me that he was too busy working. It was beyond frustrating to hear that, but I figured that he was burying his feelings in his work, so I didn't push him too much. Then he got the news that Justin's illness was spreading way too fast for the treatment to work. He was given a month at best. That month, Megan stayed back for 3 weeks. I took off from work and spent all my time with Justin. Once again, only Robert was missing. One day, Justin specifically asked if his dad could see him. He kept asking Megan and me to bring his dad to see him, so I called Robert. Yes? Where are you? I'm at work. Where else would I be? Oh, I was just checking because I'm at the hospital right now. Will you be coming here after work? I don't think I'll be able to make it. Why? I'm busy with work. What else do you think I'm doing? What else do you think I'd be doing? Don't you think you should cut down on your hours a little bit? I mean, insurance is paying for Justin's treatments, and he's not going to be here after this month. Why don't you come and spend time with him? Amelia, I literally can't. Just because our insurance covers Justin's bills, it doesn't mean that we won't need money. I get that, but even so, you should come visit him. He misses you and wants to see you. I would love to be there by his side, but by the time I'm done with work, I'm so exhausted that I just want to sleep. I understand that you're tired, but I'm tired too. I haven't slept in God knows how long. You'll regret not getting to spend time with Justin once, you know. You think this isn't hurting me? I also want to be by my son's side, but I literally can't. The last thing I want is for Justin to see me looking exhausted. The kid needs to be around cheerful people now. Justin doesn't care about that, Robert. Just come and spend time with him. That's all he's been asking for all day. Tell Justin that I can't make it. How have you suddenly become so much more busy since Justin's diagnosis? You're supposed to be there for him as his father. He's struggling with this, and he's doing his best to be happy. Why can't you set aside your feelings for a second and think about Justin? Why are you yelling at me? I told you that I'm doing my best to be there for him, but it's not as easy as you think it is. I'm also a working woman, Robert. How do I have time for Justin and not you? You've worked so much this year and you haven't taken any of your paid time off. Just take the rest of the month off and spend time with Justin. I can't do that. Why? Why can't you do one last thing for Justin? Do you not care for your son who's suffering and literally dying? Amelia, I'm really busy right now. I only picked up the phone because I thought there was an emergency. If you keep calling me to yell at me, I will stop picking up the phone. Bye. And just like that, Robert hung up on me. I remember staring at my phone in shock that day. Justin had only one wish, and that was to see his father. How had Robert not seen the importance of that moment? Did he not realize that he would no longer have time with Justin? I felt such a crazy amount of anger at that moment. I tried to call Robert again and he didn't pick up. And when I tried again, my call wouldn't go through. He had blocked me. I shamefully explained to Justin that his father was busy and that he wouldn't be able to make it. Megan also seemed as mad at me at that point. Justin just seemed defeated. And that only made me feel worse. I mean, how else am I supposed to feel when my dying son got so used to not having his father around? Megan and I did our best to cheer Justin up, and he finally seemed to forget all about his disappointment. Megan had to leave eventually because she had an important exam to give, which if she didn't, she'd have to wait another 6 months to give, and that would not be possible because she had other things to do in 6 months. She apologized profusely to Justin, and he assured her that it was okay. She told me that she would try to make it in time to see Justin one last time. Unfortunately, Justin passed away only 3 days after Megan left for university. To say I was devastated would be an understatement. I don't know how I got through the next few days, but I managed to plan Justin's funeral. I finally managed to get through to Robert, and when I spoke to him, I felt nothing. Robert did his best to make up for his absence, but all of that just felt like hollow attempts. Still, I knew I needed to rely on someone to get through the funeral, so I accepted Robert's attempts. On the day of the funeral, Robert had left to do something without telling me what it was. I tried to get in touch with him for hours, and when almost everyone was at the funeral, Robert showed up. I walked up to him in worry and irritation and asked him where he'd been. "You're finally here. What took you so long?" "Jeez, why are you freaking out?" "I've been dealing with all the guests all by myself. I wanted you here because you know how much I've been struggling, and dealing with others is beyond exhausting." "Have you always been this needy?" "What is wrong with you? Why are you being so rude and nonchalant?" "I'm not being rude. I'm just in a better place mentally, and you're really bringing me down." "Better place mentally? What are you talking about? Your son passed away only 2 days ago. And who is this woman?" "I don't care that he's gone. I found a replacement. This is Beatrice, and she's pregnant with my child." "What? Are you really telling me that you're cheating on me at our son's funeral?" "I figured now was as good a time as any. I mean, I was going to leave you immediately anyway. You thought telling me about your affair at our son's funeral while I'm in the depths of grief was okay? What happened to you always being by my side? Did you really not care about Justin? Was he just that replaceable to you? I told you from the start of our relationship that the one thing I wanted was a son. You gave me a son, so I stayed with you. Now that I no longer have a son, and you definitely won't be able to give birth to another child at your age, I had to replace you. What is wrong with you? Nothing is wrong with me. You're way too emotional to accept your reality right now, but I've already had the divorce papers drafted up, and they'll be served to you tomorrow. So that's it. You're just going to abandon me for some random woman you found and impregnated? You're going to throw away our 23 years of marriage for some stupid need of yours to have a son? It's not a stupid need. Who do you think will keep our family name alive? Our daughter, who get married off to some guy and change her name? And I didn't just find some random lady. I've been seeing Beatrice for over a year now. Are you telling me that while I was struggling to deal with Justin's sickness and coming to terms with losing him, you were cheating on me with another woman? I'm glad your emotions haven't gotten in the way of you making sense out of your reality. You know what? Maybe it is a good thing that you're leaving. I don't want to be married to such a heartless man. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to be around people who actually care about me. The range of emotions I was feeling is something I simply can't describe. I went from feeling angry to hurt to betrayed to sad to glad. And all of that was piled on top of the huge amount of guilt and grief that I had already been feeling. My son was gone. I could no longer hold my baby in my hands anymore. And there was nothing I could do to keep him by my side either. I was beyond mad at Robert, though. There was no reason for him to reveal his affair to me at Justin's funeral. I don't know if he wanted to humiliate me or if he was genuinely stupid. I decided to keep my distance from Robert because being around him would trigger way too many emotions, and I was not in the mental space to handle so much. About an hour into the funeral, Megan arrived. Her flight got delayed, and when she arrived, she looked a mess. I ran up to her and hugged her as hard as I could. I could not imagine what she was going through. She and Justin were as thick as thieves, and they'd always had dreams of doing a variety of things when they got older. Everything had come crashing down, and Megan couldn't bear that. I decided to not tell Megan about the divorce or Robert's affair because I thought that she was going through enough anyway. Hi, Mom. I'm so sorry I'm late. I did everything I could to get here as quickly as I could. It's okay, darling. As long as you're here, that's all that matters. I feel horrible that I couldn't be by Justin's side while he was on his deathbed. Don't feel bad. You were stuck in an impossible situation, and Justin would have wanted you to focus on your future over him. He left you a letter, so you can take your time and read that. That was so sweet of him. I don't know how to get rid of this guilt and emptiness that I'm feeling right now, though. I know, sweetie. At the very least, you should feel better knowing that Justin is no longer suffering. He's happier wherever he is now. Yeah, I guess. How are you holding up, Mom? I know you've been checking up on everybody, so I'm sure that you're exhausted. I'm not doing so good. I don't want to bring up other things right now, but I'm barely managing to hold myself together. Other things? What are you talking about? It's okay, we can talk about this after the funeral when everybody's gone back home and it's just our family. What do you mean? What's going on? Please tell me. It must be really serious if you aren't telling me right now. Megan, please, just let me come to terms with everything. Talking about it will make me break down, and I don't want to do that with everyone watching me. Okay, I'm sorry. Just tell me if Dad knows what this is about. Yeah, well, he's the one that's the problem. What? What do you mean? Where is Dad anyway? I have no idea. I left him wherever he was when I last spoke to him and did not bother with finding him. Did you guys have a fight? This is no time for a fight. You guys are at your son's funeral, and are you two really going to avoid each other at a time when you're supposed to be helping each other get through this? Megan, we're not fighting. This is much worse. Okay, I don't care about what's going on between you guys. You two are my parents, and I want to have both of you by my side today. Let's go find Dad. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, I took a 5-hour flight to get here, and I haven't slept for 2 days. Please, let's just be together for 1 day. Megan didn't give me a chance to speak. I couldn't tell her what had actually happened, but even though I wanted to tell her, I had no idea how to. I also did not want to shatter her the way that Robert had so easily shattered me with the news. I tried to get Megan to stop, but she kept tugging at my hand and dragging me all through the venue to search for him. When we found him, I felt my heart sink. I did not want to see him or talk to him. I just wanted to get through that day without any more surprises or upsetting news. But whenever Megan wanted something, she had to get it. So I decided to keep my mouth shut and keep my eyes on the ground while Megan spoke to Robert. Dad, there you are. We've been looking for you. Oh, you finally made it. I was beginning to think you weren't going to come. Why wouldn't I make it to my brother's funeral? Probably because you prioritized your exam over being there with him. Okay, you're lashing out at me for reasons out of my control. Is this why you and Mom are having a fight? Fight? We're not having a fight. Oh, really? Then why did Mom tell me something happened because of you? Why didn't you tell her the truth, Amelia? I didn't want to add to her grief the way you did to me. What is going on? Could one of you please just tell me instead of leaving me hanging like this? I'm leaving your mother. What? I found someone better. You can't be serious. I am. Your mother will get the divorce papers served to her tomorrow. Who did you even find in such a short time? Is this some sort of messed up midlife crisis? This is not a midlife crisis. This is my beautiful girlfriend, Beatrice. We've been seeing each other for over a year, and she's pregnant with my child. The ultrasound confirmed that the baby was a boy, so now I can finally move on from this family. Why are you laughing? Because that baby is not yours. What are you talking about? Do you know her, Beatrice? Not really. Oh, give it up, Beatrice. Of course I know you. What? What's going on, Megan? Beatrice goes to my university. Surely you should have known that, Dad. I didn't know that. You're having a baby with a person you barely know. That's good for you. Also, she was my best friend's girlfriend up until 4 months ago. He found out she was cheating on him. Yeah, with me, I know that. Wow. You're okay with knowing that you were also disrupting another relationship? Just how much of a scumbag are you? That's enough. Come on, Robert, let's leave. I've heard you get insulted enough. They don't know what our relationship is like, and I'm tired of them judging us. Of course you want to leave. You know, Dad, the person she was cheating on was not you. What are you trying to say, Megan? I'm saying that that child cannot be Dad's because Beatrice cheated on my best friend with one of his friends. Turns out she got pregnant by him, and when she told him, he wanted nothing to do with her, so she came running to you. That baby is her other affair partner's child. But she's trying to play it off as Dad's because she knows that he'll pay for her and the baby. What? Do you really hate your dad this much? Why would you invent such crazy stories? Robert, let's go. She's trying to ruin our relationship because she's hurting. You can leave, Dad. But I know her true nature better than you do. Maybe do a DNA test before you go around claiming random women you've cheated with have your baby. I was shocked to hear what Megan had said. I never really believed in karma coming back to bite you, but I was watching that happen in real life in front of my eyes. Robert started trembling as soon as Megan revealed the truth to him, but of course Beatrice took him away from the situation before he could embarrass her in front of everyone else too. I knew Robert long enough to know that what Megan said was going to stick in his brain and continue to irritate him until he did something about it. I asked Megan if what she said was true or if she just made that up to get a rise out of her dad, but she told me that she was being very serious. She didn't show any emotions throughout the rest of the funeral, but I knew that she was hurting inside. Still, I was so grateful that she stood up for me. I hate confrontations, and I hate being rude even more. Even if it's at the expense of me getting hurt, I can't help but be nice. I'm so glad that that quality of mine did not rub off on Megan, and she put her dad in his rightful place. A lot of people witnessed what had happened, although not all of them heard what we had been talking about. Thankfully, nobody said a word about it, and instead they chose to give Megan and me the space to grieve over the loss of Justin. I still couldn't believe that my son was gone, and even more than that, so was my husband. How could Robert have been so selfish? What had I done to deserve this treatment at the lowest point in my life? After the funeral, Megan stayed with me for a week. We held each other as we cried, and we learned to get used to a life without Justin together. We also talked about what it would be like with Robert around, and that was when I learned just how much Megan hated Beatrice. Apparently the girl had a history of cheating and being the affair partner in many relationships. Megan was even more disgusted with her dad for being with a girl who was the same age as his daughter. I hadn't even stopped to think about that, but when Megan brought up Beatrice's age, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of disgust fill me up. Like Robert said, I got served with divorce papers the day after the funeral. I wasted no time signing it and sending it back. I wanted nothing to do with that vile man. And I realized that I was actually a little glad that he left my life when he did, because that meant that I could deal with a whole load of grief instead of experiencing it in shockwaves. After the week that Megan spent with me, she went back to her university and I was truly left alone. It took a while for me to adjust to the new loneliness, but I managed to get along by immersing myself in work and through therapy. About 2 weeks after Justin's funeral, somebody rang the doorbell. I looked at the camera footage from my doorbell and saw that it was Robert. I'm not going to lie. I felt rage coursing through my veins at that point. I ignored him, but he kept ringing the doorbell, so I opened the door and did not try to hide my annoyance. "What are you doing here?" "Megan was right. Beatrice lied to me." "Okay, what do you want me to say about that?" "Nothing. I don't know. I just wanted to let you know how sorry I am." "Telling me that you're sorry isn't going to change what you did." "I know. I feel terrible, and I guess apologizing was the only way for me to feel better. But it doesn't look like you're going to forgive me, huh?" "Forgive you? While you were out there cheating, I was the one consoling Justin when he found out that his illness was terminal. I stayed in the hospital for over a month with him and barely slept or ate food. Every time I called you for help, you'd tell me you were busy. I had no one to support me. You looked down on Megan for not being able to make it to Justin's side while he was dying, but you conveniently left out how you were also not there." "I know. That's why I'm apologizing. You've been an amazing mother to our children. I repaid you with the worst thing in the world at the worst time." "I'm glad you at least recognize that." "I know that you still haven't forgiven me, but do you think that you could? I would love to come back to you. As messed up as this sounds, the entire time I was with someone else, I couldn't help but compare her to you. I refused to accept how badly I was messing my life up because I was not thinking straight. You really have been the best woman in my life, and I would love for you to take me back." "You sound insane. There is no universe in which I'd take you back. If I was truly the best woman you've ever known, you would have stepped up and been there for me when I needed you the most. Did you think I'd take that as a compliment? You disgust me in every sense of the word. Never have I met a more pathetic man than you. You don't have to be so mean. I don't have to, but I want to. The last year has been a nightmare for me, and not once could I rely on you. On top of that, you chose Justin's funeral to tell me that not only were you having an affair, but also that you didn't care about Justin not being here because he was replaceable to you. I was grieving. I wasn't thinking straight. I am grieving too. Does that give me the right to go to sleep with a bunch of people and put my husband down at his lowest? Listen to yourself and hear how crazy you sound. Please leave me alone. I signed the divorce papers like you wanted. I never want to see you again. Amelia, please listen to me. I slammed the door in Robert's face. I couldn't believe the nerve that he had to not only come back but also ask me to take him back. Robert kept knocking on the door for a while until he eventually gave up and left. He was lucky that he gave up when he did because I was just thinking of calling the police. I immediately called Megan after he left. I told her about everything that had happened and asked if she knew what exactly went down between Robert and his affair partner. Megan then told me that Dad forced Beatrice to get a DNA test done. Initially, Beatrice was very reluctant to get the DNA test done. She tried every tactic in the book to get Robert to change his mind, but when that didn't work, she gave in and did the DNA test. Well, surprise, surprise, the baby was not Robert's. He kicked her out and she came crying back to Megan's best friend. She told him all of this and promised to remain faithful to him if he helped her raise the child she was carrying. I couldn't believe how delusional the woman was. Megan and her best friend have also washed their hands of Beatrice, so that was all the update I had on that. I was glad that Robert's selfish actions finally caught up with him. He lost his family because of his selfishness, and now he's all alone. The rest of our family, that was at the funeral, heard about what Robert had done, and they decided to cut contact with him. Having an affair was one thing, but revealing the affair at your child's funeral while calling the child replaceable was beyond appalling, and neither one of our families wanted anything to do with him after that. From what I heard through a few mutual friends, Robert was living a very lonely life. He seemed very low and can't seem to get through a day without a drink in his hand. While my heart hurts for the loss of my relationship, I know that I definitely deserve someone way better than Robert. I will always treasure the years I spent with him, all the good memories we created together, and as a family, but that's all. He means nothing to me now. And even though it hurts to say that, that is the truth. Our divorce is still being processed, and thankfully, Robert is not making things harder. He's being amicable. And even though I want to do nothing more than yell at him at the top of my lungs for ruining our family in the worst way possible, I'm being civil with him. Megan begged me to look into therapy, and even though I was very skeptical about it, I scheduled a few sessions for myself, and honestly, I can already feel myself healing. I know that I've been through way too much in this last year than I have in the rest of my 48 years of life. So no matter what happens from here on out, I'll be strong enough to overcome it. I know I have loving family and friends by my side too, and that's enough to get me through as many rainy days as possible. Thanks for listening, and I wish you nothing but good days ahead.